Canucks' pursuit of Marco Rossi, latest updates and trade rumors. Minnesota Wild provides significant update on Vancouver Canucks' pursuit of Marco Rossi. This week, a notable NHL insider has shared important news regarding one of the Vancouver Canucks' key trade targets, Marco Rossi, who plays for the Minnesota Wild. The Canucks are actively seeking assistance in their center position, and this quest is expected to extend into August and possibly even September. Reports indicate that the market for centermen in the National Hockey League remains quite elevated, making it challenging for teams like Vancouver to secure the help they need. Marco Rossi, a restricted free agent forward with the Minnesota Wild, has been a focal point in the Canucks trade discussions. However, their recent trade proposal was turned down just over a week prior to the NHL entry draft, which included their 15th overall pick. According to Mike Russo from The Athletic, and confirmed by Post Media, the Canucks attempted to acquire the young center by offering their 15th overall draft pick along with an additional player. The specifics of whether this player is currently on the NHL roster or a prospect remain unclear, as noted by Patrick Johnston from the province. For update on Marco Rossi's contract situation. As we approach the end of July, many restricted free agents are still without contracts. Some are facing arbitration, while others, including Marco Rossi and Mason McTavish, are not eligible for arbitration this summer, leaving them in a waiting game for new contracts. Rossi had an impressive season with the Wild, achieving a career high of 60 points, which is a significant increase of 20 points from the previous year. However, his playing time diminished considerably during the Stanley Cup playoffs, leading to frustration on his part. Currently, the Wild and Rossi are struggling to reach an agreement on the terms and value of his next contract. In a recent segment on Bleacher Report Open Ice, NHL insider Frank Seravalli provided insights into the ongoing situation between the Minnesota Wild and Marco Rossi. He indicated that an offer sheet for Rossi is unlikely this summer. "We won't see one, that's the bottom line. I doubt any team would be willing to invest in an undersized center looking for a significant contract. To deter the Minnesota Wild, it would need to be a long-term deal, likely around $9.5 to $10 million per year. However, that would also disrupt the cap space of the team making the offer, and I just don't foresee anyone stepping up to provide Marco Rossi with such a deal," Seravalli explained. With the possibility of an offer sheet now off the table, 3 scenarios remain. Rossi could sign a new contract with the Wild, Minnesota might trade him to another team, or he could opt to play overseas in Europe for the 2025-26 season, while the Wild would still hold his rights due to a qualifying offer made in late June. It seems most probable that a resolution will be reached, allowing the Wild and Rossi to finalize a new contract before training camp begins. However, if an agreement is not reached, it will be intriguing to see which teams might emerge or re-emerge in trade discussions. Previously on Canucks Daily. Poll. July 24, 1,443 responses. Do you believe the Vancouver Canucks still have a chance to acquire Marco Rossi this summer? Yes? No? What are your thoughts? Do you think the Canucks can still land Rossi? Or is it time to look elsewhere? Share your opinions in the comments. Minnesota Wild offseason. Trade Rossi? Kaprizov's contract concerns and Guerin's strategy. Vote now. Should the Wild consider trading Rossi? Are you worried about Kaprizov's contract? How confident are you in Guerin? This offseason is one that Minnesota Wild supporters have eagerly anticipated. At last, the team has shed the burden of the dead cap space resulting from the 2021 buyouts of Ryan Suter and Zach Parise. Bill Guerin, the president of hockey operations and general manager, is known for his proactive approach and is eager to take bold steps to transform the Wild into a formidable contender. However, the market has not been particularly kind to Minnesota. Most teams have capitalized on the increasing salary cap to retain their own free agents, leaving few options for trades. While the Wild managed to bring in Vladimir Tarasenko and Nico Sturm and re-sign Lucas Johansen, this summer has been relatively uneventful overall. A significant focus remains on the contract situations of Kirill Kaprizov and Marco Rossi, the 2 most critical priorities for the offseason. Guerin has advised fans not to panic if Kaprizov's contract isn't finalized by July 1st, the first day he was eligible for a new deal. Meanwhile, the impasse regarding Rossi's contract may extend until just before training camp in mid-September. So how are Wild fans feeling about all of this? We've explored a variety of topics in the latest edition of The Athletic's annual survey. Are fans more anxious about Kaprizov's contract compared to last year's survey? You can find the previous survey results here. That's www.nytimes.com/athletic/45347KATYIKJLSE. We will delve into the survey results in detail next week. Note, if you can't any issues while trying to load or complete the survey below, you can access it directly by clicking here, a clickable link from tomorrow. The Wild fans enjoy the glitz and the glamour that surrounds the team. This offseason is pivotal for the Minnesota Wild, and the decisions made now could shape the future of the franchise. With the looming questions surrounding key players, it's essential for fans to stay engaged and voice their opinions. What do you think? Should the Wild trade Rossi? Are you confident in Guerin's leadership? Let us know your thoughts. NHL free agency update. Marco Rossi, Jiri Patera, and Lucas Johansen. The NHL's restricted free agent market is officially getting interesting, and Marco Rossi is right in the middle of it all. The Minnesota Wild's prize center finds himself in a high-stakes standoff with management, one that could shape his career trajectory. According to insider Marco Rossi, the two sides haven't communicated in weeks, creating a hold-your-ground dynamic that feels almost like a game of hockey chess. Rossi reportedly wants a long-term commitment, likely feeling his value warrants security after proving himself at the NHL level. However, the Wild's current stance leans toward a bridge contract, which makes sense from a team-building perspective but might rub Rossi the wrong way, especially after he was demoted to the fourth line during playoff action last spring. But here's the twist. Could another external suitor swoop in with an offer sheet that matches Rossi's expected cap hit? That door remains open, though some analysts believe Rossi might stay unsigned until training camp approaches, as both sides play a waiting game in this complex negotiation dance. So, here's the million-dollar question. Will another team step up with an offer sheet, or will Rossi remain unsigned until training camp? Either way, the situation feels like it's entering a critical phase. Moving across the league, let's shed light on some Western Conference developments you might have missed. Vancouver has handpicked prospects Nikita Tolopilo and Tai Young to man their AHL crease next season, while Akukos Kimbuo readies for a likely ECHL assignment. This creates an interesting dynamic, with NHL veterans Thatcher Demko and Kevin Lankinen firmly entrenched as the Pacific Division team's goaltending tandem. Meanwhile, Jiri Patera, a 26-year-old with 7 NHL games under his belt last season, faces an uncertain future. The Canucks are still mulling his options. Will they clear waivers in hopes of a trade or loan? Or might he become an off-season casualty? Patera's case is a prime example of how depth chart decisions ripple through organizations, often leaving well-regarded players caught in the middle. Speaking of ripple effects, Lucas Johansen's recent one-year deal with the AHL's Henderson Silver Knights serves as a reminder of how NHL draft expectations sometimes clash with reality. The 27-year-old defenseman, selected 28th overall by Washington in 2016, now finds himself with only 9 career NHL games and 2 assists across 3 seasons. Last year, he appeared in 38 AHL contests, recording 11 assists and 28 penalty minutes. A performance that likely earned him this new minor league contract with Vegas' affiliate. While Johansen's trajectory isn't unique among first-round picks, it does spark a discussion. What separates those who break through versus those who plateau? Where do you stand? Should Rossi hold out for the long-term deal he wants? Or does Minnesota have the right to push for a bridge contract? Share your thoughts.